it's a very, very quiet week in the markets. There's no non-farm payroll till next week. There's no jobs numbers pretty much for any country until next week. So the big fireworks, I think, are going to come next week. It's a holiday at the end of the week. It's the May Day holiday in Europe. I know a lot of places won't be celebrated, but a lot of countries they will be. And not everywhere is locked down. Germany, it's quite an important holiday in Europe. So, and around the world, May Day. So. It may be a quieter week than normal. One thing that you do tend to see, though, in legacy markets at month end is if there's been a very strong trend, or you'll see sometimes a reversal on profit taking. If you'll see it anyway, pretty one-directional moves and not necessarily the same move that it's been all month. If people have been shorting something and it's been going up all month, you may see them eventually cover, so it will keep going the same direction. But what I'm trying to say is that the moves you see tend to keep going, certainly in legacy markets. What about in Bitcoin? Well, we rolled over the futures market on Friday. Remember, the last Friday of the month is that futures contract. We've stayed pretty well bid, and it looks like we're breaking out. The problem is, as you know, if we take our fibs all the way from the high that we made in June 2019 to the low we made here, and let's hide all the other ones, even though I'll hide that big level we've got at 7,000. There's a lot of confluence of support at 7,000, but here we can see from this high to this low, this 38.2 fib level here is at 76.81. We held it down. We got held down by it for 4 days, couldn't close above it. Had a good go yesterday, but just couldn't do the deal at the last minute, and now we're trading above it. Are we going to keep going from here? It does look like we might. If I look down here, it looks like we made a little ABC correction. In fact, if we see it on a 15-minute, if you've got a proper breakout, you're looking for that little pullback retest to get going again. So potentially, I would say if we clear these highs, and that back above the fifth that we have pulled back and retested, but if we get back underneath this level, 76.81, then it was just a false breakout. And I think a close today back underneath that will say that we're not going higher yet. Even though I know we're at a big fib level, I am expecting us to test this. I think that we have test this 200 moving average. And if I've drawn these fibs wrong, okay, from this, and instead we should be looking from this most recent high to low, you can see that the 61.8 is here as well, 79.56. This 200 moving average has dropped a lot, hasn't it, since we've been waiting to get to it. So if we do continue higher, and if you do take that little pullback long, then 79.56 would be where the first resistance would be. Now, people say, oh, should I take profit there? The thing is with these levels, first of all, 61.8 fib levels are very messy. So I wouldn't be surprised if we overshot it to at least 8,000, if not more. And the other thing about 200 moving averages is, and I'm going to put regular candles on here on the daily, sometimes they're a big place of liquidity. So a lot of people will sell there because it's a 200 moving average. But if you were a big fund or a whale and you wanted to buy a lot more Bitcoin, say ahead of this halving, then the liquidity that you get around a 200 moving average might enable you to buy quite a lot without moving the market, because a lot of people will be selling there. And so what happens at these levels is you find out whether there are more buyers or sellers or not. And if there are more buyers than sellers, it'll keep going up and we'll get above this level, and then that'll be happy days. We can look for it to be support. I have to say, I think I'll be surprised if we get through it first time. And if you look back at how the 200 moving average has been in terms of support and resistance, it's quite, it was a little bit woolly here, but it is pretty strong, so, and well watched. So at least 8,000 I think today then, but all eyes on what happens there. This red line, this horizontal line I've put is where the halving is. So it wouldn't be a surprise if we tagged the top of this channel and maybe did a little bit of a pullback. Now, if we did that 61.8 thing, then we would look back to the 38.2. I could very easily see how this 50 moving average is also, see how this 50 moving average is trying to curl around and turn up. Then that would be like a back. So if we did see a bit of a pullback to start the month into the halving, back to this 50 moving average, and I think would be quite a good place to look for it. If we went that little bit higher and pulled back, you know, around the 7,000 level, a little bit higher is actually really, really good support as well. 7,172 is this 50% pivot level in the middle, but a little bit lower at 7,000. I do have kind of quite a lot of other levels as well. If we put our fib on and if we pull back from there, that would be around where the 236 might end up as well. That's a bit early to speculate though. So if we do see a reversal here, I think that back to 7,000 might be where it goes.